Tensions between the United States and Venezuela have reached a critical point, characterized by a public exchange of threats and a private attempt at diplomacy. The situation deteriorated rapidly after President Donald Trump issued a stark warning to the Venezuelan government, demanding the repatriation of prisoners and mental health patients sent to the US and cautioning of incalculable consequences if Caracas fails to comply. This ultimatum was delivered alongside an increased US military presence in the Caribbean Sea, signaling a hardline approach from the Trump administration. In response, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro adopted a defiant stance, addressing the National Peasants' Union with a speech vowing that his people were ready for war. The Venezuelan military immediately began large-scale exercise, and the government started programs to train and arm civilian volunteers, portraying the move as necessary for national defense against foreign aggression. Amid these public displays of force, a secret diplomatic channel operated discreetly. President Maduro sent a letter dated September 6 to President Trump through the US Special Envoy, Richard Grenell, rejecting American allegations of drug trafficking as absolutely false and fake news, and pleading for direct dialogue to prevent open conflict. This combination of military posturing and clandestine communication defines a highly volatile standoff, with both nations preparing for potential escalation while keeping a narrow path to negotiation open. The United States has justified its action as part of a concerted campaign against international narcotics trafficking, but the measures have been perceived by Venezuela as acts of war. President Trump authorized a series of military strikes on boats allegedly linked to drug smuggling operations originating from Venezuelan territory. These strikes, occurring on separate dates in September, resulted in the destruction of several vessels and the death of at least 14 individuals, according to U.S. officials. The American administration's content that these targets were part of criminal networks using Venezuela as a base to transport drugs toward the United States. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth publicly supported the operations, stating they are necessary to disrupt the flow of narcotics and to pressure the Maduro government, which the U.S. accused of collaborating with traffickers. The naval flotilla deployed to the region, including advanced warship and a nuclear-powered submarine, conduct persistent patrol, further intensifying the military pressure. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have repeatedly alleged that senior Venezuelan officials, including President Maduro, are personally involved in protecting and profiting from the drug trade, claims that Caracas vehemently denies. The U.S. stance remains uncompromising, with President Trump warning that Venezuela will pay a heavy price if the current tensions escalate into a wider confrontation, emphasizing that all options, including military actions, are on the table. Venezuela's response to the American pressure has been a rapid and visible mobilization of its national defense capabilities, coupled with a propaganda effort to unite the population against a common enemy. President Maduro, speaking at military base and in televised addresses, has framed the conflict as a patriotic struggle against the U.S. empire, invoking historical resistance to foreign intervention. The Venezuelan Armed Force launched Operation Sovereign Caribbean, a comprehensive military drill involving thousands of troops, naval assets, and aircraft, including Russian-made Sukhoi fighter jets equipped with anti-ship missiles. These exercises demonstrate a focus on asymmetric warfare tactics designed to counter a superior naval force, with practices including coastal defense simulations and electronic warfare scenarios. Concurrently, the government initiated a nationwide militia recruitment drive, encouraging civilians to join voluntary units for training in basic weapons handling, sabotage techniques, and civil defense. Videos broadcast on state television show instructors in urban areas like Pitirar, a large neighborhood in Caracas, teaching residents how to respond to a potential invasion, while international observers noted that participation numbers may be lower than official claims. The effort signifies the government's attempt to prepare for a protracted conflict. President Maduro's rhetoric consistently emphasized resilience, stating that Venezuela will resist any aggression and that the nation's sovereignty is non-negotiable. Beneath the public bellicosity, a diplomatic effort persists, though it faces significant obstacles. The letter from President Maduro to President Trump, delivered by Special Envoy Richard Grenell, represent a crucial attempt to de-escalate the situation. In the document, Maduro systematically refuted the drug trafficking allegations, presenting statistics that he claims prove Venezuela's effectiveness in intercepting narcotics, with only a small percentage of Colombian drugs crossing its border and a high neutralization rate. He appeals directly to Trump, urging a return to dialogue and offering cooperation on security matters to preserve regional peace. The United States has acknowledged receipts of the letter but has not softened its public position. Secretary of State Rubio and other officials maintain that any talks must be preceded by concrete action from Venezuela, such as severing ties with illicit groups and initiating democratic reforms. The international community, including regional partners and European nations, watch with apprehension, calling for restraint from both sides. The Caribbean region now faces a tense and uncertain future, where a miscalculation or accidental clash could trigger a broader military engagement, even as the faint possibility of a diplomatic solution remains alive through back-channel communications. If you have made it this far, congratulations, you have unlocked the truth. I want to ask you a question. Is this primarily about drugs, a strategic push for regional dominance, Venezuela's oil resource, or a combination of these factors? We want your expert opinion. Join the debate and share your analysis in the comments. Like the video and most importantly, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.